Good afternoon and hello, Ms. Chelby. Today, me and my partner will be presenting on the topic of stress among university students. My name is FARAHAIMAN SOFRIAH BINTI MOHAMAD RAMEEZ.
And my name is CAMELIA binti AROL RASHDAN.
So, for the topic, this is something that has become increasingly more apparent throughout the days as students struggle to balance both academic, financial, and as well as their personal pressure and their personal lives. Next. So to begin, stress has become a common experience for most university students, and many face pressures that affect both their physical and their mental well-being. And in fact, according to recent findings, about 2/3 of students reported that stress has negatively affected their mental health. This shows that stress is not just a temporary feeling, but something that interferes with your daily functions and your academic performance. There are several reasons behind this growing trend, because students often deal with heavy academic workload, including assignments, deadlines, and exams. At the same time, many also face financial challenges, such as the rising cost of living or the pressure to work part-time while studying. And on top of that, relationship issues, whether with family, friends, or peers, and this becomes straining for their emotional health. So all these factors combined can lead to serious impacts on students' emotional well-being. So to lead with that is the purpose of the study. So this study was carried out based on two leading purposes. The first one is to compare the proportion of students experiencing different types of stress across different groups. So this helps us see whether certain groups, such as students with physical disabilities or those with mental health conditions, experience more severe stress compared to others. So the next main purpose is to identify the main sources of stress among college students so that universities can understand what issues are most urgent and require support programs or interventions. So these purposes can give us a clear picture of not only how many students are stressed, but why they are stressed and who is most affected. Next. So this is our first figure, our first chart. So figure 1 is taken based on university students' experiences with acute and chronic stress based on the year of 2023. So looking at figure 1, which shows us the percentage bar chart, comparing experiences of acute and chronic stress among different groups of university students. It shows 3 groups, which is all students, students with physical disabilities, and students with mental health conditions. From the chart, the overall pattern becomes very clear. So among all students, 60% experience acute stress, while 56% experience chronic stress. This shows that stress is already widespread among the general student population. But when we look at the more specific groups, the differences become even more, striking, more apparent. So the highest level of stress is found among students with mental health conditions, whereas 78% report that they are experiencing stress. This means that almost 8 out of 10 students in this group face severe and chronic and ongoing stress. For students with physical disabilities, the level of chronic stress is also high at about 69%. This suggests that students with existing health or physical limitations face more challenges, especially in navigating the university environment or managing coursework alongside their conditions. Next. So to analyze and describe the first chart, from the data in figure 1, we can make several important observations. So the first one is that stress affects every single student, but it is clear that students with mental or health conditions are significantly more vulnerable. They face more barriers, whether it's academically, socially, or physically, with an increase in their stress levels. Secondly, chronic stress is higher than acute stress in almost all groups. Chronic stress refers to a long-term ongoing pressure, which is more damaging over time. So this means that many students are not just stressed for a few days or weeks, but they're dealing with it consistently throughout many semesters or throughout the year. So this highlights the need for targeted university support, especially for vulnerable groups. Support systems like counseling services, academic accommodations, financial aid, and mental health programs are essential to help students manage the pressures they face. Next.
So now let's move to figure 2, which shows that the main reason students considered withdrawing from their programs between the year of 2020 and 2024. The highest factors here clearly shows that emotional and mental health are the highest reasons, showing that 63% reported emotional stress and 47% reported mental health issue. Meanwhile, physical health and coursework difficulty are lower motivators, only around 16% and 24% of students considered withdrawing because of these reasons. Next. So here's a further breakdown. Emotional stress tops the chart at 63%, making it number one reason why student thinks about quitting. Mental health also shows at 47%, showing that psychological struggles are a major factor. And on the opposite end, personal physical health is one of the lowest reasons at around 16%. Coursework difficulties sit slightly higher at 24%, but still nowhere near the emotional and mental categories. In another word, academic difficulties isn't what pushes students to the edge. Emotional load does. Moving on to the analysis, this data set reveals that because it flips a more common assumption on its head. Many people think students withdraw because classes are too hard, but the numbers say otherwise. First, emotional stress clearly shows that clearly shows the strongest influence here. This includes feeling overwhelmed, isolated, pressure to meet expectations, and difficulty balancing responsibilities. So emotional fatigues accumulates quietly, and at one point it was hit a certain point, and then students feel they simply can't continue anymore. Secondly, mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, or even panic disorders, it will make it extremely difficult to cope with the demand of the higher educations. The 47% figure shows that these internal battles are powerful enough to disrupt academic persistence. Third, academic difficulty and physical health concerns are real, but they rank much lower. This tells us that universities often focus on GPA, tutoring, or extensions, but the biggest factor driving students away isn't academic at all, it's actually emotional resilience. Fourth, the timeline matters. This dataset covers from the year of 2020 to 2024, which includes major disruption like pandemic, remote learning, economic pressure, and social isolation. Students were expected to adapt quickly, but not all of them had the support that they needed. This environment amplified the emotional and mental health stressor dramatically. Lastly, this chart also highlights a structural misalignment. University has strong academic systems, but the emotional support system often lag behind. The gap, uh, that gap is what drives withdrawal consideration more than grades or coursework difficulties. So overall, figure 2 makes it very clear that the real challenges is not academic capability, but it is emotional sustainability. Next. So, in conclusion, stress among university students is shaped by both academic realities and personal struggles, but emotional and mental pressures consistently emerges as the strongest drivers. Figure 1 shows the imbalance of stress across different groups, especially those with existing health condition, and figure 2 reveal that the emotional stress play a more decisive role in withdrawal decision than physical or academic factors. The bottom line is simple. Student needs more support systems that go beyond textbook and lecture halls. University must invest in mental health services, wellness program, stress management tool, and inclusive policies that recognize the diverse challenges that the student face. Academic support helps students pass, but emotional support is what helps them stay. And that is all for our talk. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you.